Also, we are continuing in today's Mishna Yomi, and today we are continuing in Parak Beis, Mishnayos Vav through Zayin. Chapter 2, Maseches Peah, Mishnayos 6 through 7. Mishnah Vav says as follows: Masa Shazara Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMitzvah Lifnei Rabbi Gamliel. Mishnah tells a story, and the truth is, this goes back to what we spoke about in the previous Mishnah, namely that the Mishnah beforehand, in Mishnah Hey, spoke about that if one goes ahead and plants in their field two different types of wheat. So remember, again, the shaila is that one field or two fields for Peah purposes. So the Mishnah says it really depends. It depends how it's harvested. If it's harvested as one batch, then you only give one Peah. Harvested in two different batches, then ultimately two Peahs. So the Mishnah speaks about an episode that happened like this, that Rabbi Shimon Ish HaMitzvah one time planted a field with two different types of wheat. And so the shaila is, the shaila was, he asked Rabbi Gamliel, do you have to give one pair or two? And they went into the Lishkas HaGazos, the chamber of hewn stone, which was the seat of the Sanhedrin in the Beis HaMikdash, and they asked the shaila, Amar Nachum halavlar. So Nachum, who was lavlar, is a sofer, is a scribe. So Nachum the lavlar said, Mekubal ani me Rabbi Miyasha, I have a Kabbalah for a Miyasha Shekiba me Abba, who went ahead and had a Masorah from his father, Shekiba min hazugos, who went ahead and had a Masorah from the Zugos. The Zugos, are the Shmai and Naftalion, Hillel and Shammai, Shekibu min HaNabiim, and they in turn received it from the Nabiim. Halacha l'Moshe Misinai, and in fact it is halacha l'Moshe Misinai. That's what? Bizarei asadeu shnei min echitim, that when you sow two different types of wheat in your field, imason go achos nosa peah achos, if you harvest all of the wheat at once, then it's considered to be one crop and only one peah. Shtei granos, but if you go ahead and you harvest it in two batches, no saying shtei peos. Then you go ahead and you give two peos, very much in line with the halacha that we learned in the previous Mishnah. Beautiful. Mishnah Zayin. Sada shekitzaruha goyim, kitzaruha listim. So just to give you the background here, the Bartanura says that by Peah, the pasuk says ubekutzrechem. Remember again, the Torah says ubekutzrechem es kitzia artzechem. When you will go ahead and harvest your field, you have to leave a corner, you have to leave a Peah. What the Mishnah's medayik on this is the idea that it's only when you harvest it. If someone else harvests it, then halacha l'maisa, there's not a chiyuv of Peah. So the Mishnah gives a number of examples. Sada shekatzru gayim katzru listim. So for example, what happens if non-Jews came along and harvested your field? Now the Bartanura points out li atzman velo shekatzru pol lekusim Yisrael. We're obviously not talking about workers, because of course if workers harvest your field, your workers are an extension of you. So that's not what we're referring to over here. We're talking about gayim came along and harvested the field of their own volition. Or listim, robbers, karsamuha nimalim, or ants chewed through the stalks, and as a result the stalks fell. Or the wind broke the stalks. Behema, or an animal came along and chewed off the stalks. So in all of these situations, the field has effectively been harvested, but it wasn't harvested by you, ptura. Therefore, again, it is pater from Peah. And again, in all of these situations, it's not compliant with the directive of ubekutzrechem, when you harvest your field. The Mishnah goes on, Katzer chatzia v'katzer listim chatzia, if you harvested half, and let's say robbers harvested the other half, ptura, shechovas hapeah bekamo, ultimately, again, it is exempt, because again, halacha l'maisa, because remember, if you take a look at the Bartanura, so the Bartanura says over here, Shechovas hakatzer bekama, kolomar, chovas hapeah shalzeh henicha bekama, unihi diikala sada chazra peah laomrim, v'chayv lahafish. So the idea over here is when you harvested your part of the field, so ultimately the peah was really satisfied with the standing grain. Now that halacha l'maisa, it's been cut down. See, here's what's interesting. You harvest part of the field, and then afterwards, the Nachri comes along and harvests the other part of the field. So technically speaking, you, the Jewish farmer, have satisfied your Peah obligation with the part of the grain that was left standing. Now, of course, a non-Jew came along or someone else came along and of their own volition cut down the rest, thereby taking away the Peah. So therefore, I'm not obligated anymore to go ahead and create any additional Peah because I did my part. I fulfilled my obligation. Now, once someone else goes ahead and cuts down the rest of the standing grain, unfortunately, again, there's no more Peah for the aniyim. It's the poor who lose out. But I, the landowner, would not be obligated in any subsequent Peah compensation or Peah allocation. We'll stop over here for today. Wishing everyone a wonderful day and a good Shabbos.